Hello again. We're doing powers and exponents, and what I want you to do is understand what's really going on when you see something being powered or something with an exponent on top of it. And I've got 4 examples here, and I want you to evaluate them. And I have 5 to the second, 7 to the first, the quantity, because it's in parentheses, of 1/3 to the 3rd power, and x to the 5th power. Now, the big number, the 5, the 7, the 1/3, and the x are called bases. They basically hold up the exponents. That's what a base is. You know, you want a good foundation, make sure it has a good base. These small numbers, 2, 1, 3, and 5, are called powers, but more often than not are called exponents. Kind of like how Mr. Burns goes, exponent. He always points up. Nobody ever laughed at that joke. I don't think he was going to laugh at that one either. So I have 5 to the 2nd power. Basically what that means is I write the number 5 twice. So this is 5 times 5. That's what 5 to the 2nd means. It doesn't mean 5 times 2. It means 5 multiplied by itself, how many times you see the exponent. And 5 times 5 is 25. 7 to the 1st is telling you write down the number 7 only one time. You can't do anything, it's just 7. Now this one tricks students, 1/3 to the 3rd, and sometimes they give up. There's no need to give up. Just be deliberate on how you decide to approach the problem. It's telling you to write 1/3 3 times. And here's how you do multiplication with fractions very easily. You multiply all the numerators, 1 times 1 times 1, 1. 3 times 3 times 3, but it's not 9. 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 3 is 27. So that's 1/27. Now, a popular thing that students do, and I would suggest that you do not do it, because depending on your teacher, and if I were one of them, I would mark it wrong. They put this in their calculator, parenthesis 1 divided by 3, close parenthesis to the power of 3, and they get a decimal, and they think that that's good enough. Well, you're not learning anything from that. You're just plugging into a calculator. And in spite of what people believe, you got to use this here. You know, a calculator will only get you so far. You got to use this. Okay. X to the 5th is actually perfect by itself. You would not write x down 5 times. You would leave it as it is. When it's a variable to a power and it's by itself, you don't actually simplify it any further than that. Numbers you write out and you simplify. X to the 5th you would just leave. But for the sake of posterity, it is x times x times x times x times x. That's actually what it is if you write it out. But when it's a variable to a power, you just leave it alone. Unless you're dividing or multiplying or powering a power with another power. But we're not there yet. So for that sake, you just leave it alone. Unless you also have to substitute. Like if it said x is 2, then you'd have to plug it in. Speaking of which, we have a problem. If c equals 1/2, find c to the 5th. So what you do is you replace the c with whatever it is. It's 1/2. And when you substitute either in a negative or a fraction, I would always suggest you substitute it in parentheses. And it's not only because it's good math, but because if you're very calculator reliant, your calculator will not read it the same way that you meant to put it in. So let me say that again. Whenever you substitute in fractions or negative numbers for variables, make sure you put it in a quantity, in parentheses. So that's 1/2 to the 5th power, and you write out 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. It should be 5 times. The numerators you multiply all together, the denominators you multiply all together. 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, 1. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. And yeah, sometimes I use my fingers to keep track of how many I'm multiplying together. And I do like to kind of test myself by doing that. You know, I'm not going to use a calculator. And don't put this as a decimal. Don't just substitute this into your calculator as a decimal, you know, parenthesis, whatever. Because depending on your teacher, they're probably going to mark it wrong. Because I know I would. Or at least I take half off for it. So, something for you to consider. With that said, that's expressions, but with a heavy emphasis on exponents or powers. That's it. Have a great day. Goodbye.